Hello, everyone. I'm ăhcahk, and I'm the adjunct curator of design at the Poole Center of Design, which is this gallery here. And happy to share with you some work that Wanda and Lana Whiskey-Jack have prepared and curated together. Can you hear me okay through this?
I think some people are having issues.
This exhibition started about a year ago. I had reached out to Wanda and asked her if we were to talk about water from your perspective, what should we be talking about? And it resulted in, I think, 1 or 2 conversations a month for a period of at least 7 or 8 months as we developed this program. And Wanda connected with Lana Whiskey-Jack, and both of them co-curated this exhibition in the space that we're in today. So it's the full exhibition is kind of a comparison between the Amazon and the North Saskatchewan River, and the Saddle Lake First Nation is part of the North Saskatchewan River watershed. So it seemed a fitting conversation. And I think one of the things that really struck me when Wanda was first having a conversation about this was really the fact that we were talking about voices. When we think about who has the decision power, who's at the conference tables when we're thinking about water, some voices are missing. And I think we really felt it was important, and under Wanda and Lana's lead, to have different voices at the table as we think about water. And so that's what today is about. It's a real opportunity for us to start listening differently. And I'm really excited about that. I will briefly introduce the 2 co-curators, and first is Wanda Della Costa, who is an architect, and she's also a professor. She has a couple of credentials to her name that I'm really excited about. One is the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts 100 in 2019. So she was selected as one of 100 people that were creating a cultural shift across the globe, and that's quite nice. She's also the First Nations woman to be an architect in Canada. And she also recently, as of last month, the RAIC, which is the administrative body for architects in Canada, has given her an honorary fellowship for this year. So very, very wonderful work that Wanda's been doing, and we're delighted to have you here today. Dr. Lana Whiskey-Jack sends her regret. She is actually online, but she is not in person today. But she has been very instrumental in the people that are in the room today, and has done a lot of incredible work around this. Wanda is a multidisciplinary treaty scholarist, and scholarist means scholar and visual art activist. Her research and writings have been grounded in nipîy ceremony. I think I messed that up. Nipîy ceremony, and nipîy, which is the Cree language of revitalized Indigenous ways of knowing and being. She is an associate professor in the Department of Women's Gender Studies at the University of Alberta. So she is online listening, and if she says anything, she may text us so that we can add it in. We're sorry that she's not here in person. I have also been asked to just introduce briefly the other people that Wanda and Lana have curated so that you can know who they are. Jesse Cardinal, right here, is sorry, I'm pronouncing it wrong. I should have asked. Kino Métis Settlement Treaty 6. She is the executive director of the Keepers of the Water, which is an incredible organization that is elevating a decolonized discourse around traditional and indigenous rights around water and governance. She's been working through the lens of education, research, and policy development. And we also have Kevin Lewis, who is to the right, to the left, sorry. And Kevin is the Kananashkik Cultural Camp, is part of the Kananashkik Cultural Camp. And excuse my pronunciation, I'm trying. And, and I feel it's important to say it even wrong, so, but right would be better. And so he is, this camp, for those that don't know, has done some incredible camps around hide training, pre-immersion, and a land-based school around research. So we're really delighted to have both of you here today. And then we have some youth. And you may see some pictures around the wall. We're all created by youth that are in this room today. We have Sugita right here, who is very interested. She's from the Minnequiscan First Nation, and her passion is deep water swimming. Alexi, who is here, and Alexi is very much into hockey playing and is from the Saddle Lake First Nation. Stella Cardinal, who's right here, loves to ride horses, and she is from the Kiknau First Nation. And Caleb Bailan is loves dance and food, he tells me. Yeah. And he has quite amazing balance. He is from the Osamaskinask. Okay. And it means brown badger. That's his name. And from the Paper Chase, Rocky Mountain House is where his heritage comes from. And I know Cadence survived yet, but I didn't get a chance.
I heard that
to
she was here.
Cadence will be here as well.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I will pass this to Wanda, who will be kind of leading the conversation in the direction that you wish to take it.
Thank you. And thank you. And as I understand, this is just for the people who are tuning in via Zoom. I have one here, so I actually don't need the microphone. And I'll project as loudly as I can. I know there's a lot of people in this room, and thank you so much for coming today. I wanted to start out with a little bit more of an acknowledgement and have a moment of silence. Sorry. There are people in Italy right now at the Vatican. Our residential school survivors are there to create awareness of the people who enter boarding school and residential school in our country. The Pope is going to apologize. So I think we should be celebrating this moment, but we should definitely recognize this moment. So with that, I would like to take just a 20 seconds or so to recognize not only the residential school survivors, but also the people, the descendants of those, which I am, and the people who have made their way to Italy to create awareness around this. So with that, let's take a moment. It's okay. Thank you, everyone. And just at the moment, as we're about to speak of water, we had a little bit of a water spill of a glass of water. So our spirits are with us today. Not to worry, it doesn't matter. It's just water to be spilt. So as A'Marie said, I'm an architect. And when she called and asked me what I wanted to show of water, you know, I know there are people who have who work with water every day, and I wanted to invite other people to this conversation. And most importantly, when I work as an architect, the most important advisors for me are not only our elders, which you see their words written across. We had a conversation with 3 elders, so we created their words on this wall, which I think was important. But then we also work as architects sandwiched also between our youth, who are the leaders of the next generation. And this to me is such a powerful place to be positioned, right? We are listening to our youth of what's important to them, and we are also being guided by our elders. So what you see are pictures on the wall taken by a number of youth that are in this room. And what I'd love to do, because this is to me about bringing awareness from all perspectives, is eventually I would love to have the youth who took these pictures, many are in this room with us, if they feel okay to talk about their picture, why they took it. You know, my earliest memories as a child regarding water, we didn't have running water at Cookum's house, at grandmother's house. I have a lot of fond memories of the well. Even we had a double outhouse that I have very fond memories. You had a partner to join. My sister was out there with me with our comic books. And I think we have, you know, there's a different relationship with water. And I think the pictures that we see on this wall are really important because they are our next generation's view of water, guided beneath by our elders. So that is the work that I do. I work, you know, all across North America on architecture projects, but water is becoming such a big issue. We hear about it all the time, how our water is being protected, how we can develop resiliency with regard to water, scarcity of water, the loss of water. I'm currently living in Arizona right now. You know, the water's being diverted. And a lot of our First Nation and Indigenous people are suffering from the diversion of water. And so I think this is an issue that we really need to bring awareness around. And what I want to say before I pass it on to the folks that have joined here today, Kevin and Jesse, is that I often feel that our Indigenous people are the canary birds for many things in this world. You know, everyone knows the canary birds. That's where they used to go in the coal mines beneath, and they would be the first ones to smell the gases so that they could warn everyone to get out of the mines. And I see these issues, the issue of water, because a lot of our people still live very close to the land. They are experiencing the issues of environmental degradation more so than we do in the city. And as we're living in our, you know, air-conditioned glass boxes, we don't really notice. But a lot of our Indigenous people are noticing. One of the most powerful pictures I saw of late was Indigenous people. They were in the islands, the Fijian or the Polynesian islands, and they were having dinner at a dinner table, and the water was right up to the top of that table. And they were just having a casual dinner sitting in the water to make a statement that years back they would be sitting on land, and now the waters are rising, and that island and those Indigenous people are endangered. They are the canary birds. And so I come here today really about awareness, really about opening a conversation. I think some of these topics are hard, and I think when we're in dialogue and we have a chance to express and be open, and it's a safe space to talk about it, we all learn, and we can all move forward in a better way. So with that, I forgot the order, but I'm gonna pass it on to, was it Kevin or Jesse? Who would like to jump in?
Yeah. Okay. Nandito. Hatio no kumagante tuti tekahyo. Wasra suntegon ibaya asumi nagotek inuti naskumoyan gotakishkao yewi husia kwa kutuya minagapna naskumaya katvichigit minaona mamo bawe mao kamasna sotu tegat Chahpiga noga kapatahya. Minagisto no isino kita stiguma. Ego magisto no kapna naskumoya. Asome na gotakaya. Isgo mata pui migusya was muitapmaya minagihte ego kap pigsquihi chiguta. So I greet everybody. I thank everybody for organizing this, as well as the leadership from both nipîy, Dr. Lana Whiskey Jack, and as well as working in the circles with an Indigenous architect that's not only building spaces for learning, but spaces to promote language. I don't know, she didn't say too much about this, but she's also a part of a project in Saskatoon where I sit in, creating a bilingual school, creating immersion programming, making sure languages don't disappear. And I'm glad that you gave that silence, because of that as well. Because I went to residential school, and I also worked 10 years in residential school, and I heard those ghosts. I seen those ghosts, and in our way of life, we feed them. We have ceremony for them. Water's involved. We have ghost dance ceremony as uskapio sagaya. Iuekanak asni kistio pimi. we tie it up and we go throw it in water. Make sure it's a clean place of water and don't look back, because there's something there that we just did and we made a connection with that water, that importance of water. In a sun dance, the old men, they'll dance around and they'll be sung and they'll tell a story between their relationship and the relationship with water, and how close it was that they lost their life because of the power of water. And I sit here with my wife and my kids. So some of the responsibility of the little ones here, the ones that have come to our camp, and it's a camp where we try to have a safe place where we can lift our pipes. It's a camp where he's come, supported our camps, come teach, come learn off of us. Pretty soon the sap is going to be running from the trees. And also Dr. Him, that's a brother of ours as well. That's a family member. So I'm just trying to do a little just acknowledgement. And of course, Jess, for being a part of that research project that's been happening every year for the next 4 years. We're gathering because of water. The first one was women and water. The second one was medicine and water. And what's the theme for this year?
It's medicine and water.
Medicine and water part 2, I guess, right? Because we didn't have enough. And we ran out of time because it flies by so fast when you're talking and hanging out right beside water, and you have knowledge keepers there, and you have these little ones, enjoying the gardens, enjoying the lake, enjoying paddling, enjoying each other's company. So it's a real, it's what we call magic, but we also call it in Cree Waguhtun, kinship. And that's what we try to promote. We try to promote kinship from the land. And when we talk about kinship, nipîy, and I was telling my little ones here on the way up, you guys are going to be talking in front of people. I don't know if you understand how big a thing that you're going to, and so they listened, and they lasted one ʔʔʔ. Anyway, they lasted one sacred story. And these are the sacred stories that we sing about in our lodges. We sing about ʔʔʔ. We sing about the flood. We sing about how important that is, those teachings that we're seeing. We're starting to see those relatives that their living room is being flooded. I heard those people in New Zealand talk to us, and they're saying, yeah, you guys from the big islands, what about us from the little islands? We have to move our houses a little higher, So I heard those people in New Zealand, those in the Cook Islands, in the Canary Islands, and all those lower place islands where they call home. So now I also heard through Zoom, and I'm very glad that this is on Zoom, about these big holes in Greenland, these ice sheets that are melting at an unbelievable rate right now. And again, when you're talking climate change, when you're talking, the world, we have to sort of teach these little ones a new way to think, a new way to live in the future. Growing food, maybe through hydroponics, maybe growing food all year round, and thinking maybe in a 100-mile or 200-kilometer radius, and trying to feed ourselves, make sure that that cost of water, the cost of gas, So there's a whole bunch of different things that I think these little ones are telling us with their photography, and then the vision that these two leaders, these indigenous leaders that made this happen. I'm just really proud of the little ones, you young people. They're here because they want to listen to you guys, not us. They want to listen to what you guys have to say. And I want to encourage you guys not to be shy. But it's always really nice to talk from here, with a big squeak, right? Without a big squeak, and just share why you took these photographs and how beautiful they are. Look at, they're all here on a Saturday. They could be doing something else, right? But you guys are here. And thank you for that support as well. And there are some stories, of course, and it is a dialogue. We're trained to talk for hours and hours. I don't know if you know, I'm a professor at the U of S, so we can talk, right? We can talk. This little guy was like, "Are you getting nervous? Are you getting nervous?" No, this. I love this, right? This is my kind of circle. So thank you for creating this circle, and I'll hand this over to Miss Minao.
So I want to thank you all for coming
Mine is so
today.
loud.
I have a really quiet voice, so I usually depend on a microphone when I do public speaking. So please bear with me because I feel so weird to yell, although my kids would probably say otherwise. But yeah, it's really good to see you guys here. James, I heard Dr. Cora Voyager, who I feel like we need to meet. People from my own community, Kikino, and all of you. I want to thank Lana. Her husband James is here. We've worked with them, and Wanda for putting this together. I've been with Keepers of the Water, so I'm Jessie Cardinal. I'm from Kikino Métis Settlement, and I've been working with Keepers of the Water since about 11. I started out as a coordinator, and she was born in 2010. So she's been on many conference calls, been to gatherings. I'd be putting her to bed, and our old boss, Harvey Scott, would be putting her to sleep by talking about our, through our board meetings and things like that. So they grew up around that. And I'm happy to be able to be bringing my kids here because being land-based, like living in the community of Kikino, we grow up on the land, so it's just natural. And I tell people, because we didn't have running water when I was a kid, and we got it from the well. And I always tell people, I'll never forget the taste of the water back then. Like that's something that I'll never forget. And that was instilled in me. And I think that's part of how I came, because I can't say that anybody taught me how to be a water keeper. But what I'm learning through my education, going to Blue Quills and Kevin's Camp and the different knowledge keepers, is women, that's our role. As women, we're water keepers. And so that's probably how it came to be. And so at a young age, at like 19, 20, I started to see the changes happening in my own community, land being cleared, more roads being built, the changes in the animals. And I remember going to one community meeting when we used to have regular monthly meetings from council. And I remember going to one meeting, and I was talking about the lake, and I was in my early 20s, and 19, 20. And I said, we need to take care of our lake. And people looked at me like I had 10 heads, because that was like 20 years ago, and laughed at me, and I said, well, you guys aren't going to be laughing when we don't have clean water to drink. And now today our lake is under threat. And so that's just a little bit about my journey. But the one thing I do want to tell you guys, Keepers of the Water, it's an Indigenous-led organization. We work to protect water. It was formed in 2006. And we're guided by a declaration that says water is sacred, and that we must work to protect it. And we take that responsibility very seriously. And we're a very diverse organization. You can look at our website, keepersofthewater.ca, for some of the work that we do. But the one thing that I want to talk about while I have you all here is what the Alberta government is proposing to do right now. Is the tar sands in Fort McMurray is the biggest industrial project on the planet. And that was confirmed to me. I attended a workshop through the U of A Sustainability Department the other day, and they confirmed that, because I used to say it's one of the biggest. It's the biggest industrial project on the planet. They have 19 tailings ponds. The tailings ponds are enough to give 17,000 people drinking water for 1 million years. It's on a Narwhal article. It's just, I try to have people understand the enormity of these tailings ponds. So what tailings ponds are, because we're trying to educate people. We're working with CPAWs and environmental defense, and we take it for granted, because I talk about tailings ponds all the time, that people know what they are. But what tailings ponds are is the byproduct from when they're extracting the bitumen up in Fort McMurray. They're so toxic and so poisonous that anything that lands on them will die. They have, it's like, if you guys have ever been up to Fort McMurray, past Fort McMurray, it's like you're walking into another world. It's like Mordor. You see desert, you hear the sounds of gunshots because they're mimicking gunshots, everything to try and keep wildlife from these tailings ponds. And so they're growing because these companies, they don't care about us. They care about their money. They have enough oil to meet all of our needs. And what they do is they fool, especially Indigenous communities, they fool them to think that you can't have a vehicle, you can't have heat in your home, you can't have your basic necessities if we don't keep extracting from the tar sands. And that's more than enough to meet people's needs. What we're doing is meeting the company's greeds so that people can own big yachts and islands and things that aren't even realistic. And so that these companies want to keep growing and growing and growing, and these tailings ponds are growing and growing. And the Indigenous communities are so concerned about these tailings ponds because the Athabasca River, some of these tailings ponds are 2 kilometers away from the river. So if they break, that will devastate the river. But that's not our problem. That's not the Indigenous people's problem. That's the company's problem. But what they want to do is just dump it. So they're starting to say, we can treat it, not to a level that's still safe to drink, but that it'll need more treatment. And they want to start dumping it. What we have done with Keepers of the Waters, we're working, and I'll wrap up in like 2 minutes. What we have done with Keepers of the Waters, we're working with a team of scientists that are taking this information coming straight from industry, straight from the government, that shows it is still not safe. There's high levels of something called naphthenic acid, which is cancer causing, and saline. And saline is like salt. So fresh water is like lakes. You cannot have saline in lakes because it warms the temperature of the water, and fish need cold water in fresh water. So the fish will die and eventually will die. And so we're working really hard with other organizations to stop this from happening. I had a meeting with the federal environment minister the other day, and these opportunities are coming. And I told them, you have the chance to stop this because this cannot happen without the federal government okaying it. And so we're just trying to get the word out there as much as we can, and we're going to be putting up more information on our website of how you guys can get involved and how you can lend your voice to stop this from happening. Because what I'm telling people is, even if you're in a city, it affects you, because that means that the tar sands are going to be able to grow, which is going to contribute to climate change. And you guys are going to see flooding, like we're all going to feel those impacts. And the other thing I said is, if it's allowed to happen there, guaranteed it's going to be allowed to happen in other places. Like it's going to be an international human rights crime is what I'm calling it. So I'm raising the alarm bell, and that's part of the work that we do with Keepers, but we also do fun stuff like partnering with Kevin and Jody, his wife, on the land-based learning. And so I'm just really thankful that you are all here to hear the diversity of all of the conversation that we're going to have for talking about water. So thank you.
Thank you. And I would love if our artists in the making would like to show one of their pictures and tell us a little bit about it. And we can walk with you. Come, let's go see your artwork. You can just tell me about
You
it.
guys got to talk in this mic because it's on.
We're on Zoom.
So just pick a picture. Who wants to go next?
I'll come with you. Anyone know, awas means go away in Cree. Come, I'll come with you. Tell me about your picture. This is our next generation, the leaders. You can just talk to me like you're talking just to me.
So,
You might have to turn around because they might have to hear your. I got you.
okay, so
this picture.
If you tell me, I'll yell it out.
Okay, so this picture here, we had a camp with these 4 teenage boys.
This picture, they had a camp with four boys?
4 teenage boys.
4 teenage boys.
During this photo, we went to go trapping. We went trapping for some animals.
They went, during this picture, when it was taken, they went trapping for animals. Did you catch animals?
Not from what I heard. So after this, so we went to like this little pond area, and so we set beaver trap there. So we waited 2 days for the results, and I don't think we catched anything.
They set a beaver trap after this. They went to a pond, set a beaver trap, but they didn't catch anything. They waited 2 days. So there's a picture of water. Thank you. Woo. All right. Our brave next generation. Where did she?
There's life.
You said water is life.
Yeah. 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 Drinking water. Yeah.
Can I tell the people a little bit about what I see about your relationship with water? So every time we talk about water, one of Caleb's first responses is water is life. It doesn't matter what situation we're in, where we're at, that's what he says, water is life. And when I take him out to the lakes or the rivers, we take off his shoes and his AFOs and roll up his pants, and we'll roll him as far into the water as we can. And he will sit there for hours. This is the only time I've seen him. Pardon me?
Fun mark.
Oh, and throwing rocks, he said. He will sit there for hours and he will throw rocks. This is one of the few times where he'll sit and just be for hours and not want to go anywhere. And splash, right?
Yeah.
Splash. Good job. Do you want to talk about the water in your picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
See me up there?
Do you see him up there?
Yep.
You do? Oh, okay. I'm drinking water.
You like water?
Yeah.
Do you drink a lot of water?
Yeah, I do. Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated. Is water really important to your health?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, water is like medicine for Caleb because of his health needs. Is that true?
Yeah.
What else do you see in the picture? Is there ice?
Yeah.
Why did you put ice in the picture?
I know.
You don't know? It's just, did it seem right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the plant?
That's plant.
That's Ed's plant. Does that plant need water too?
Yeah, it does.
Does that make you and the plant alike?
Yeah.
That you need water?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to tell all these people?
Water is life.
Yeah. Woo. Thank you. Thank you. Look at these brave artists in the making. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes. All right, here's your mic.
They were beaver trapping.
Yeah, they were beaver trapping, a lot of beaver trapping today. And
We caught one beaver, so
they caught one beaver.
I just was taking a picture from a distance, and that's what I got. And
It looks like it was snowing,
yeah, it was
which is kind of like water, a little
Yeah.
bit. Excellent. That's good. What does water mean to you?
It's like, it means that, it means love and love and caring.
Oh, thank you. Water means love and caring. Hi, thank you. Thank you.
So we'll go with Stella and then we'll go with Cadence. So Stella picked this photo. So what do you want to tell us about the photo? Do you want to talk about the photo at all and what's happening in the photo?
Yeah. Stardust is the orange one. He's very old. And then Raven's the other one, and she hangs out with Stardust a lot.
And what do you want to tell us about horses and why horses are important and why they matter and why they need water?
Because my papa used to like use them for pulling and to go get hay. And what else did he use? Oh yeah, and horse logging.
And how often you go see the horses?
Every day.
And why is that important to you?
Because 2 of them are mine, and also I just like seeing them.
What can you tell us about water? Anyone say about water?
Everybody needs it.
Everybody needs water. Good job, Stella.
Yeah. All
It's
right.
her first public speaking. And this is Cadence Breton. She's also from, her dad's from Saddle Lake Cree Nation and her mom's from Kikino. She's such a sweet, amazing girl, young lady. Which picture did you take? Or do you want to talk about? Okay. So what do you want to tell us about the photo?
I needed it before because our tap broke.
So your tap broke, so you use this for water? Okay. And what else do you want to tell us? What does water mean to you? So do you guys follow your water every day or?
No.
What are you learning about water?
It's important for people and things.
And you guys spend a lot of time out on the land, your family. I know you guys hunt moose and you do all of these things. And just that all of that wouldn't exist without water. Do you want to tell us a couple of things that you guys like doing in the fall, like maybe a bit about your moose hunting?
We mostly go out quadding and see all the like not lakes, like ponds and stuff out there, and they're nice, I guess.
So they're very land-based people. They're out hunting and camping. They do gardening. So very connected to the land. And I'm just so thankful that the youth are getting this opportunity because they're going to remember this. And when they become, as they grow in their journey, they're going to realize that the lives that they're living are really connected to water more than they realize. And so I'm just thankful again for this opportunity and for the youth. Thank you, Cadence. You did good.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our youth. And we wanted to open it up for spend the last 10 minutes with a Q&A. But I hope that you see from what is written on the walls, in the opening description, it talks about abundance. This is about abundance. This is about resilience. And this is about scarcity. It's about all of the above. So I open it up to all of you. I know there's a lot of information from the elders' words. And of course, now we have the perspectives of the children. So we would love to answer any questions. Tremendous resources on either side of me that are very land-based people. So please ask a question while you have a chance. And I don't know if we need, oh, I guess we do need the mic for the Zoom folks.
I'm wondering if you might be willing to speak to what you see as the difference between how the dominant society, settler society, sees water and how your people see water. If there's anything you might say about the difference between how it's even held or seen.
Yeah, but I'll answer this. And it was something I think that's very important. And I wanted to acknowledge Nistawa. I don't know where right there in the back. We did a paddle, you know, a few years back there. Was that last summer already? That was just last summer, I guess. That wasn't very long ago. But it was the Saskatchewan River. And as we were paddling, right at the tail end, we made it to Fort Pitt. And that's where Treaty 6 was signed. And then as we were lifting the pipe, one of the old man that was, well, I shouldn't call him an old man. He probably won't like that, eh? But the knowledge holder, the elder, will say, he said, he says, because we used a birch bark canoe. We used our own power to get there. But it was really significant for him as well, because he met us a couple of times along the journey, and he must have been saying prayers himself. But then where it was really significant was when we were sitting to do that pipe ceremony. He said, you know, the story I was telling them, ăhcahk, and there's still a little bit of snow here in ahcahk, here in this area, so it's all right to tell these stories still. But ăhcahk, there was a flood story. And when this flood happened, just like all of us are sitting in our seats, that's how the animals, the birds, our relatives were sitting on islands. And it was just a flood. It was just like all these tiny little islands. They weren't sure where food was going to come from. They weren't sure if there was enough food there to sustain the beaver, the moose, and the animals, our relatives. It wasn't until the water spirit, the woman water spirit, started moving, and that's the river that we paddled on. These are these streams. This is that ăhcahk that flows through here. This is the one that we were paddling. And he says it was the woman spirit that took pity on us. That's why us two-leggeds are still here. That's why the four-leggeds are still here, because they could get on that flowing river and flow to a place where there's berries, where they could flow to a place where there's things to eat and possibly give you shelter, give you a future, right? So that spirit of water, there's female and male spirit. So again, it's not an element to us, it's a relative. And if we get dehydrated, this doesn't work very well, right? And it's like that right now. We need to really, I flew over and I paddled that Athabasca River, and we had to carry our water. We could, I fish. I love fish. We couldn't eat that fish. There was moose there. I couldn't harvest that moose because of the toxicity, right? So again, innovation, you know, I'm not saying don't take the scientists' words for it. Please do, but also understand the spirit of water, right? That we can pray to that water for healing. We can pray to those teas for healing any ailments that we might have. Lastly, innovation is starting to happen with circles like this, right? Because we live in urban settings, we teamed up with a non-Indigenous company, a resort called Fire Song, and they're the biggest privately owned fire in catchment. What did they call themselves, Jody?
Rainwater.
Rainwater catchment. That's the biggest rainwater catchment in Canada that's privately owned. So again, all the water that's coming, there's ways where you can filter it, ways that you can capture it for, you know, all our different uses of water, right? So again, using technology, using the elders' knowledge, and using the stories that come from Turtle Island and our views, I think, you know, it's a good recipe for reconciliation. It's a good place to start building and start listening to the elders on all sides, right? So we need the scientists, we need those elders, we need those people to keep on praying. And then I like this one old man, he said, if you pray in If you pray in the church, pray in the church. If you pray in the lodges, you pray in lodges. You pray in your homes, pray in your homes, right? In your private dwellings. But keep on praying because it is spirit. It has spirit, and we talk to that spirit because we know we're related to it. Right. So again, hopefully that sheds a little bit of light on that.
Yeah. Another question.
All these photos are absolutely lovely. I think this one back here resonates with me very well. What we have is just the child just kind of reveling in the snow of it, which is absolutely fantastic. And what I was hoping was that someone could speak to us about how water is heritage and what that means.
Heritage. I'm getting my steps in here today.
So that's actually my daughter Eva in the snow. And that's what I was gonna say is we living in the land, we live it, you know, so when Tad Hargrave, who's actually kind of semi-famous, by the way, talked about how the difference is for water. So right now it's spring and the water's starting to melt. And because we live in the land, we notice everything. And so we had such a dry summer last summer. There was only a couple snowfalls. And so the earth right now has just soaked everything up because it was so dry. Like normally you have like all kinds of runoff and flooding. You're not seeing that this year because even though we had so much snow, the earth is just drinking that up. And as the snow is melting, the earth is thawing. And so right now is, well, March was just Niski Pisum. So all of the geese are, you know, starting to come back. And what we're starting to do is bring back ceremony to honor the all of the winged ones, like to really acknowledge their journey of how far they fly. I was just in class this morning and there's one bird that travels from Alaska all the way to New Zealand and he goes 8 days without any food or water or stopping. He flies for 8 days. Like they're amazing, you know, like it's not just us here. And that's what I'm teaching my kids. Like everywhere we go walk, it's like they understand where the frogs live. We know where the frogs live. We know where the foxes live. We know where the coyote dens are. The butterflies, the caterpillars, the bees. We know where the squirrels live. Like it's not just our home, and that's what our kids are learning. And so when we're out in the snow, it's just part of being like you know, living out on the land. It's like it's a part of our lifestyle. It's just natural to be outside any time of the year. So I hope that answers your question. And then this month is ahcahk Pisum, so it's the frog month. So as the ground thaws, the frogs you're going to start hearing them and you're going to start. And so we pay close attention to the weather. And what I wanted to say is, you know, how are we connected to water and the scientists? So the North Saskatchewan River, which Edmonton depends on, is an at-risk river. What's happening because people have lost the understanding of how to take care of water? These small towns and communities are not taking care of their lakes. Tourism takeover, so people are coming with all their boats, and they're just totally crowding these lakes where the lakes are starting to die because lakes need oxygen to live and they need to stay at a cold temperature. And if there's a lot of boats on the lakes, then the temperature gets warmer because of all the gasoline and the chemicals and the runoff. So lakes can die. And so what's happening as these lakes are dying in the municipalities is they're piping water from the north to meet these communities' needs. It's Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities that are doing this. And so they think that water is just gonna be there. They take it, you know, as a human species, we take water for granted that it's always, we're gonna get it from somewhere. Well, the North Saskatchewan River is at risk. The water levels are getting lower. And if we have dry seasons, you know, like we're all gonna be in trouble. And then also what we put down our drains. So this is the last thing I'll say is, kids that, my kids, like what we put down our drains, you know, goes back into the water system. And I used to say, well, because everybody, whatever we put down our drains. So I stopped using bleach and laundry soap. I used baking soda. I'm trying to like learn as much as I can, you know, and it's not easy because of capitalism and colonialism and consumerism. It's like we're forced to use this. And so we need more people out there educating and learning. And that's part of what we do at our medicine camp is we're starting to learn like how can we meet our needs from the land, because that's how traditionally how we live. So just for you guys to keep in mind, the North Saskatchewan River is at risk, and to start having those conversations of like, what are we going to do about it? You know?
Yeah, thank you. And this is a conversation. I live in Phoenix. The aquifer is drying up and it's getting hotter. And people say we have 50 years left to live in Phoenix and it will no longer be inhabitable. And that's related to water. So one more question. Hopefully it's a positive one. Here we go.
Yes, it's a positive one.
We'll leave it on a good note.
Marcy, thank you for your words. I appreciate them so much to everybody who shared. And I have a question. I've heard you talking about the importance in Wakutowin or Wakotowin, depending on whether you're speaking Cree or Michif, and the importance of that kinship and relationships. It's not an element. It's a relationship that we have with the spirits of that water. And I'm really curious for all those here leaving this experience and hearing your words, what would you suggest for people to go away and begin to build a relationship with water? What's something that you would suggest that they go and do to start building that relationship?
That's a great question. So I'll go to both of you.
Yeah, I guess something constructive. I'd say hang out with these little ones that are doing things like this, because they're the motivators for what we do. You know, they're the ones that help me pop out of bed every morning. You know, as soon as, and thank you for pointing out that picture out, because you just should have saw her. She was melting with pride. You know, I was looking at her and she was like, "Hey, that's me." You know. But also just giving thanks, you know, giving thanks to where we are. Nipîy is a winter thunderbird. And that's that one that lets these, like the beautiful flakes that you see in a lot of these pictures here. Nipîy is a winter thunderbird, and we need to hang out with the farmers as well and say prayers for them, because there was like, they know how to read the soil, just like Jess had said here earlier. You know, I was hanging out with somebody, a farmer from down south. He was about 77. The guy looked like 50 years old, you know, and he was so fit. His mind was so sharp, but, you know, and that's how you want to age. You know, you want to age like that. So when I was talking to him, he said, you know, the soil this year, there was only this much frost, because last year was so dry that everything, just like Jess had said, it's sucking it up, right? It's nourishing. So if you can, on a positive note, and if you're not religious or spiritual, just go go say a prayer to that river. Go say thanks to that drink of water that you're gonna have, you know, maybe later on, you know, but it's just that acknowledging the spirit of water, and then supporting education spots like this, and then actually thanking, you know, the curators and everybody else that made this thing happen as well. We need more dialogue. We need more like safe place to speak. So safe that they're asking about how do I do, right? They want that response, you know, and I can't wait to see them, you know, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, when they're speaking, and how powerful these little ones are going to be sounding when they're our age, right? Yeah. And how much knowledge we're going to leave behind. So hopefully, join all of us in giving thanks to that water, and giving thanks to a safe place, especially a safe place for us to talk about such an important relative of ours, water. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I would only add to that, you know, grandma used to have a rainwater barrel that used to collect at her home out there. And I remember that awareness of, you know, she would use it to feed the animals, to feed the cats and the dogs, to bring it inside, to boil it. There was always this awareness of water. So as a last word, I would say, create that awareness, create moments for these kids to see that awareness of what water brings to all of us. And I think that's really what we can do.
And I'll just say, that prayer is like, it's so powerful, important, that despite everything that's happening to water and everything that's going on in the world, like it's amazing if you pray for your water, what it's going to do. Because you guys have heard of Dr. Emoto, I'm sure. If you haven't, check him out. But what you say to yourself, so he did this experiment of like putting water in a glass, and he would say mean words and hurtful words to that water, and the water crystals looked so deformed. And then he put a glass of water and he played different beautiful musics and spoke beautiful words to it. And these crystals were just beautiful. So just think of that. Be kind to yourself. You know, we need to be kind to ourselves, first of all. And I'm a big advocate of prayer. You know, however you're going to pray for yourself, for the water, and those things go a long way.
Yeah. Thank you. Hi. And with that, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Spread the word, tell people to come, bring so that they can also take pictures of water in their neighborhood. Talk to your elders, and we'll see you here in the next time we come and talk about water in this gallery. And hopefully it's every year. So thank you to our guests.